I have been on my own several years now, and I've always been used to travelling with a girlfriend or partner, but these days things have changed. I'm fortunate that I work away from home a lot of the time and get to travel the entire UK. Only 3 weeks ago I had about 3 days in Orkney, and then I drove down to Truro in Cornwall, so I was there for about 5 or 6 days. So I do actually get round quite a bit in the UK. With trepidation, I booked a cruise with P&O. I thought, well, I might as well go on with a company that's got a good reputation. And I booked a trip around, well, it wasn't the Mediterranean, it was the Atlantic. So we went down to, I think, Vigo in Spain, then Lisbon, then Porto, which are both in Portugal, and then back up to Guernsey, where unfortunately we couldn't get off the ship because the swell was too high. Anyway, my thoughts of travelling alone. Not brilliant, to be honest. It's very difficult to explain. I've been back a week today. It's a week today I got back, and it left me with all sorts of kind of memories, and I can tell them from my photographs. Excuse me, because I went through a dark period while I was on the ship, as you'll probably see when the black and white ones emerge. All in all, people were friendly, but most are part of a group, so they're not going to pull away from the group. And people are polite, but you're not part of their group, and they're just going to get on with their holiday, which I can't blame them for. You know, you pay a lot of money to go on a cruise. So I did find myself, fortunately for me, because of the nature of the work I do, I'm used to being on my own. So to be on my own amongst 3,000 people, possibly, it's quite a norm. Although for a lot of people, I think it would be quite daunting. On the ship itself, there's a lot of things to do. There's plenty of restaurants, and depending how much money you spend on your ticket depends whether you have to pay to go in certain restaurants, I believe. Because I know on my ticket, which I thought was all inclusive, to eat in certain places was going to cost me extra money. And as my eating habits aren't too fancy, and I don't want a free bottle of wine thrown in with it because I don't drink, a lot of the deals I wasn't interested in. Cruises are for couples or for groups of people. I really don't think they work very well for a solo traveller. You have a lot of time to do nothing, a lot of time to read books. If you don't drink, there's no point going in bars. I have no interest in sitting in a bar with other people getting drunk, listening to music or watching a show. Also, depending on the sitting you have in the restaurant, they do two shows. They do one early for the people who have the first sitting, and then they have the same show on again, I think it is, for the second half when people come out the second sitting. But by now, everyone that hasn't eaten or has eaten in the second sitting have filled up the auditorium if you want to watch one of the large shows. So it's nearly, I never managed to get a seat. I sat on the floor, or I stood as long as my poor old legs will hold me up, and then I had to give in. Which is a real shame because some of them look quite good. But hey, that's part of the deal. You know, they're not going to have a 3,000 or 2,000 seat theatre on a cruise ship. They need it with rooms for people to book so they can make some money. The shopping experience is quite good if you're into shopping. Well, I wouldn't say being a bloke because some guys are into shopping. One of my brothers loves shopping. I personally can't stand it. So the shops are actually of no use to me at all. The art gallery I found quite interesting. Not that I need any pictures of art because I live in a roof and I haven't got any decent size flat walls. So not that I'd have bought any, but I might have done. So what is there for a single person to do? Well, fortunately I smoke. Now, I'd love to stop smoking, and on this occasion I'm glad I didn't, because everyone that went to one side of the deck, there was one side that was for smoking, and well, anyone, but including people who smoke, and the other side of the ship was for people who don't smoke. So I soon got to know the people that smoked, and actually we had quite a laugh. And a lot of people are quite happy to sit there and talk to you when you're having a cigarette, like they do outside a pub, I'd imagine, when you have to go outside to have a smoke. So actually I got talking to a lot of people, but it was just boring chit-chat, to be honest, because that's all you're going to talk about to someone you don't know. So I did find it rather difficult. There's nothing there I could say these holidays aren't aimed at single people. My room could have easily had another person in there, you see, it was a double room. So the 1,100 quid I think it was, they'd have probably charged me the best part of £2,000 for that room for two people. So you can understand why it's geared for couples, not for single people. I did try and read a book. I'm not very mobile, so I actually walked, and I've got to laugh about it now because this is the furthest I've walked in years. I managed 6 miles one day, but that's the day I went to Porto because I had a look round there. I couldn't be bothered to get off in Lisbon, and I used to live in Spain, so I didn't feel any great need. Well, I nipped off the ship in Spain to take some photographs of the ship, and just to stretch my legs. But I was averaging about 5 miles a day, which for me is incredible. I came back with an aching back and a leg that's even worse than before I went. But hey, I managed to do some walking. What is there to do on a ship? There are films in the afternoon. They're not going to be X-rated or anything like that. I don't think they put horror films on. So you're going to see a popular film. I think Churchill might have been on, or something to do with World War II was on. So they have a couple of films on every day. But I'm not particularly a TV watcher, so that didn't really appeal to me. Fortunately, I'm an avid photographer, and a cruise ship offers you the most I'm going to use fantastic opportunities to take photographs, and I took lots and lots and lots. It gave me time to learn how. Oh my goodness, this is so embarrassing. I took about half a dozen cameras with me actually, and it gave me a chance to learn how to use 2 of them that I'd bought and not really used. So I became really adept at using them, and I took what I think were some fabulous photos on this ship. It lends itself to being photographed. If you've got any thought as a single person of pulling someone of the opposite sex, or maybe the same sex, or maybe whatever sex they happen to be in this new world that we live in, I would say the opportunity of doing that is probably 0. Mind you, I did have one near liaison. Well, no, that's not a near liaison. Someone saying to you, if only I'd have met you at the beginning of the holiday, isn't exactly a liaison, is it? It's a, oh my God, shit. Wish I had. But hey, and she was lovely as well. But la-di-da, it was the night before we went home and got off the ship, so that wasn't going to happen. So I think if you're going on a ship full of, forget it. Unless, of course, it's a holiday for singles, in which case, I don't know, do they do holidays for singles? I don't think so. So, my leaving comments about going on a cruise on your own is, if you want a lot of time on your own, there's cheaper ways of doing it, like staying at home or getting a cheapo holiday to Greece or Spain where you can just sit on the beach or near a cafe or whatever all day and do nothing and read a book. It's an expensive way of being lonely. I have got several ideas that I think would be quite good for cruise liners and cruise operators like P&O to take on for single people. I think actually they did have a single group meet and greet kind of thing, but it was what they called unsupervised. I think there's some area of a bar where if you're single you can go and sit there and moan about being single, I suppose. And no doubt what a lot of people do once they've been married, like myself and like the other people know that would have been there, is go on about why you divorced and how awful she stroke he was, and that. So it did. I did look at it briefly. I thought, oh no, this would be like an Alcoholics Anonymous thing where everyone's talking about their life story and why they drink and whatever. So I thought, no, you can get depressed easily on a ship on your own without going to a group of people who are all going to be rather sad and lonely. I did notice one other guy on the ship that was on his own. He ate on his own every night. I felt quite sorry for the bloke. The table I was on, it was a table for 6 when I had my meals at night. And there were 2 lovely elderly ladies that were on the table most nights. And we ended up having a bit of a chat each night, but there was a night or maybe 2 when they didn't come down because they went to one of the other restaurants. So sitting at a table for 6 on my own, I thought, it feels like walking down the road when you've got a big pimple or a big zit on your nose and you think everyone's looking at your zit. And that's what I felt like, billionaire mates, sitting in this opulent restaurant, trying to move the food around the plate, trying to look like I wasn't lonely and on my own. But I failed miserably. Anyway, would I suggest that anyone takes a cruise on their own? No, And I am very good at being on my own. I love my own company, and I found it difficult. So will you probably. And if you do, good luck. Bye bye.